What's up, everybody? Welcome to Batsugun.
Okay.
We're picking the Type B ship, which is kind of the only shot type in this game. You can clear with the other ones, but the Type B shot is just so much better that everybody uses this one. Right off the bat, we can see one of the things that really drew me to this game initially, and that's just how amazing it looks. If this game came out today, it would be a nice looking game, but Batsugun came out in 1993. This is wild for 1993. It's really, really nice looking in comparison to most of its peers. I really enjoy the aquatic theme. I feel like that's underutilized. There are some other ocean-themed shmups, but definitely in comparison to like Space or World War II or whatever, I feel like this sort of aesthetic is underexplored in the genre. The visuals are definitely one of the ways that this game is pushing boundaries for its time. The gameplay also, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The first boss here is really nothing too special. You just take out the weapons on the side to give yourself a little bit more room to dodge the final phase, which is coming up in a second. It's kind of an interesting looking bullet pattern, but you could just macro dodge it. So this run is mostly a clear, focused run, but I am going to be doing some scoring just because I think it's fun. I suppose this is a fun-oriented run. The scoring in this game is pretty simple, and a lot of the score comes from one single trick, but I enjoy it, so I am going to be doing a little bit of scoring. Coming up, we're going to see the first example of that. If you hold right and blow up that tower that's on the right there, a pig comes out of it. And if you hover over it, you get points. And then if you destroy this plane as it's taking off on the runway, you get a score bonus for that. I don't know what the story is behind the pigs, but there are a number of pigs hidden in different areas throughout the game, and it usually involves blowing something up while holding a direction on the arcade stick to reveal them. I suppose not everyone enjoys the scoring in this game, but I have to say I kind of appreciate the simplicity of scoring based on just kind of shooting stuff and revealing secrets, and to some extent boss milking, although I'm really only going to be milking one of the bosses. I try to find cutbacks there, but oftentimes I end up kind of missing my opportunity. It's pretty easy to do. Using a couple bombs isn't a big deal. This game gives you quite a lot of bombs, and if I was going for a record, I would actually be trying to save as many bombs as I can for the end of stage 4, but I'm just doing a little bit of scoring for fun, and bombing is also fun, so I'm going to be using my bombs. Batsugun often gets called the first bullet hell game, or at the very least it's considered a game that's very influential on what would become the bullet hell or danmaku subgenre. I'm not really totally interested in where the line is exactly between like the more classic Toa Plan shmups and the later bullet hell, but the gameplay of this game was one of the things that also drew me to it. So I have to say that I have enjoyed some modern danmaku games, and some of them I've actually enjoyed a lot, and some of them are among my favorite games. But the way that a lot of people talk about them, I just have this sense that they don't quite have the magic for me that they do for a lot of other people. And on the flip side, there's things that I appreciate about classic shmups, but there's also things that I don't like. So this game sometimes gets brought up as this kind of middle ground between the more classic sort of Toa Plan style and modern games. And I think that's really true. It incorporates design elements that I like both from classic shmups and from more modern shmups. I suppose, to be precise, they're innovating those more modern gameplay elements. But from classic shmups, I tend to like the greater focus on shooting and blowing stuff up, and the bullets are there mostly to make it difficult for you to shoot the enemies. I like shooting stuff, so I kind of like those older style games in that respect. But there's things that I don't like about classic shmups. I don't really like the huge hitboxes. And, you know, as far as modern games are concerned, one of the things that I do like about danmaku is the higher density of bullet patterns. Even if I don't enjoy the kind of dodging aspect as much as maybe some people do, and I kind of like the shooting aspect a little bit more, I do like the higher bullet density of more modern danmaku games. So I think games that can incorporate sort of both design sensibilities a little bit, I think are my jam, and this game definitely scratches that itch. This came up in the most recent Shmup Slam, actually. There's a hardest mode run of Eschatos from Shmup Slam 8, which is a great run. I'll put it in the description. You should watch it. But the commentator brought up that Mach, the lead developer behind Eschatos, considers games like this to be a normal type shmup, and that's kind of like the least descript name ever, but I think it's intended to refer to games that are kind of not quite classic shmups, not quite bullet hell, and it's the type of game that Mach was looking to make with Eschatos, from what I understand. Like I said, I think that might actually be my jam, the normal type shmup. Maybe that makes me a basic bitch, but I'll happily accept that. I've enjoyed this game quite a lot for that reason, and I probably would enjoy Eschatos a lot. So I think I will try that out as one of my next games. Anyway, we're on stage 4. I got on a bit of a tangent there, but stage 4 I think is the hardest stage in the game. It's also my favorite. We've got lots of waves of varied enemies shooting fast bullets, and you know, the fast aimed bullets is again one of those things that I appreciate about older style shmups. I kind of like the challenge of having to stay like really focused, because with these fast bullets, it's like if your attention slips for a second, you just kind of get annihilated. And especially on this stage, it's quite long. You gotta really lock in, I found. And I enjoy the challenge of that. This stage is where a lot of my runs would end. But it's satisfying when you get a clean run through. We're coming up on sort of an infamous part. These planes coming up from behind. Some people really, really dislike this kind of stuff. I have no problem with it. To me, it's like just another thing I have to learn in the run. And it's true that like, if you don't know that's coming, you're gonna die pretty much. But to me, like the first several credits that I play in a game are just kind of gathering information anyway. So it just doesn't bother me at all. Like I said in the Grega video, I think if any trick is relied on too much, it becomes stale. But I don't really think that's something specifically about, you know, so-called BFB. it doesn't really bother me, but maybe I just have a high bullshit tolerance. So here's Jupiter. This is a really iconic boss. This game, I don't think, was the first game to have something like this by any stretch, where you have like a boss that's kind of an extended sequence where you're dismantling it bit by bit. But it's definitely cool, and there's a part coming up here that I'm pretty sure is referenced in Blue Revolver Stage 3. This part specifically, it kind of had a light bulb going off. It's like, oh, Blue Revolver is like this. It's a pretty cool part. But coming up is an even more iconic section of this boss. So Jupiter has an extended milk that you can do, and it's very, very lucrative. It's so lucrative that almost all of your points in a run are going to come from this. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I am going to do part of it. Again, I am not trying to set like a super high score or anything, but I just think the milk is kind of fun, so I'm going to do part of it. What you want to do is get into these safe spots, which are actually kind of hard to get into in this version because you don't have like a huge hitbox, but the hitbox in this is larger than a Batsugun special, so in a lot of runs, I found myself getting clipped here, but you want to get into these safe spots and destroy the turrets on the back that I've been destroying, because if you don't do that, and then you destroy the laser pods on the sides, they start shooting at you and make your life completely miserable. But once you've got those down, you can destroy the lasers on the side, and then once you destroy the lasers, tanks start coming out. And you let them accumulate. And once enough of them have filled up these lanes, they turn red, and then you bomb and shoot them to make sure they get destroyed. And you get a very substantial bonus. I think every bomb is like 1.3 million points if you do it optimally. And if you're trying to get a record, you're going to use all your bombs here. You're going to sacrifice lives to get more bombs, and you're going to go down to your last life. And if you do that well, you can get like almost 20 million points by the end of this stage. I'm not going to be sacrificing any lives. In fact, I'm going to just end the milk here, because the second phase of it is pretty tough, especially with the bit larger hitbox in this game. There's a lot of score left on the table there, but this is still mostly a clear, focused run, so I'm satisfied with that. So we're on the final stage here. Holding down left and destroying that building up there causes the pigs to come out. Overall, I would say that this stage is easier than stage 4, but there's a lot of stuff kind of coming in from the sides and at weird angles where you really have to stay on your toes, because it's quite easy to get clipped. There's a scoring opportunity coming up on this sort of Akira elevator, where if you leave one of the robots, at least one of the robots alive till the very end, you get a score bonus. I decided not to do it because I have gotten it a couple of times on runs, but I was just messing it up a lot, and This is like the last of several runs I had done on this day, and I was getting a little bit tired of resetting, so I decided to play just more conservative. Even though I've got, 3 extra lives in stock, I decided to play pretty conservative just to get the run finished. As I was learning this game, one of the things that I noticed is that there's not actually a ton of written information about it. There's a page on the Shmups wiki, and the Shmups wiki is normally very good, but I found the Batsugun page, Batsugun, I've been pronouncing that wrong, like, all my life. I found that the page on the Shmups wiki was a little bit limited, and there is a strategy thread for Batsugun on the Shmups forum, but the author of that thread unfortunately deleted a lot of their posts. Someone went on the Wayback Machine and found that original post in that thread and sort of copy-pasted it, but it hasn't been updated in a while, and I think there's definitely some information that's not in there that would still be useful. So something I might help out with if I have the time is to kind of flesh out the information on the Shmups wiki a little bit. I'm going to have to talk to some more skilled players because there's a lot I still don't know about this game, but I think it would help other people out to maybe try to flesh out that page a little bit. We're coming up on the final boss, and I decided to try to use the safe spot that exists here. In Special, there's a safe spot closer to the middle of the screen, but that doesn't work in the original. So you kind of have to go over to the side here, and I'm trying to use the background as reference, but it took me a minute to get into it because I was nervous, and my tapping was just not on point. And I'm actually a little bit too low, so I'm still going to have to tap up just a little bit for some of the later patterns. I probably should have just dodged the boss normally, because this final boss isn't that hard. But if you tell me there's a safe spot and that it's relatively easy to get into, I'm going to try to use it. Those rockets that are on the side there, if you look closely, they say Dogyun, which is a previous game from Toaplane. So spoilers, I'm going to have to tap up a little bit to get in the right spot for some of the later patterns, and I'm going to mess it up. And like I said, I really should have just dodged the boss. But I love safe spots. So I overshoot it, like, again, my tapping is just not on point right now, so I overshoot it and then overcorrect on the way back and die. And I'm actually going to die one more time when I dismount the safe spot because I died, I don't have my homing shot, so some of the turrets that would normally get destroyed here are not going to be destroyed, and there's just more stuff going on than I'm used to when I try to dismount it and I die again. I actually tried to go back and clean up this run a little bit because I really messed up the final boss here, but I was not able to improve my score. I just kind of kept getting clipped on the Jupiter Milk or other stuff, and I got a little bit frustrated. And I've been playing Batsugun Special, and I think for score, I am going to improve my score in Special. But that game just has more scoring opportunities, and the smaller hitbox is nice, so this is the run that we get for the original. But I am going to continue working on Batsugun Special and try to improve at that game. pretty scuffed ending, but congratulations, got the clear. We take that, I suppose. And like I said, this was the highest scoring run that I was able to do before wanting to kind of move on. What a wonderful ending. Bit of an anticlimax, but great game overall. Having played Batsugun Special a little bit, I do think that the changes that they made to that game did improve it. The first loop is quite easy for an arcade game, but the later loops get pretty challenging. But the smaller hitbox makes it fun. And like I said, they added quite a few scoring opportunities in Special. So I think maybe Special is the better game overall, but I still enjoyed this a lot. And it did, like I said, scratch this itch for like the normal type shmup, I guess. Speaking of that, I am going to pick up Eschatos. That was on sale on Steam just a little bit ago, and I did pick it up. Holy cow, that game is hard. I mean, I've been trying it out on the hard difficulty, so it is supposed to be hard, and I'm not going to go down to normal, I'm too stubborn. But that game is hard, but I just, like, my initial impressions of that are, like, I'm going to love the game. It's probably going to take me quite a while to clear it, but I think that's going to become one of my favorites. And if you want to stay tuned for a second here, I did decide to put in a couple of other clips just that I thought were kind of amusing. So in one of the other runs that I attempted, I came into stage 5 with no lives and no bombs because the earlier stages were just completely scuffed. And you don't really want to be going up the screen like that, but you know, when you have no lives and no bombs, sometimes you can just pull out the hero dodges to try to save the run in situations like that. But then get to the final boss, and I messed up the safe spot again. Take a moment to appreciate the continue music. And I figured I'd show what the safe spot sort of actually looks like. I'm still a little bit too low here. I try to use that beam that's going horizontally to line up, but I'm still a little bit too low. So I'm going to have to tap up again, but I managed to do that successfully this time. You also have to be holding right here, because if you're not, you get hit by stuff. I'm not exactly sure how the hitbox works in this game, but there does seem to be some difference when you're holding a direction. And then you can ride that all the way to the end, and then you just have to do a tiny bit of dodging. And you're done. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the run. See you next game.